Class, this is my 6th and final blog post. I'm going to be doing a review on the teacher and the class. I just want to give a heads up, I'm feeling kind of sick, and I'm tired, and I might read off, what I wrote a little more than I should, so just a heads up for that. So you're probably wondering, how am I going to grade, the teacher on being a good teacher? What am I going to use to do that? Well, I Googled it, and boom, I got 6 criteria. And it's credible because of all these credible things that make him credible as a writer. Okay, so he says there are 6 criteria as a teacher, and that's what we're going to grade the professor in the class on. Number 1, the So, out of the 6 criteria, I'm going to rate him 5 out of 5, and basically 3 out of 5 is like, okay, 5 out of 5, amazing, 1 out of 5, not good. So before I get into my review, I'd like to describe how I am as a student, just so you can understand my review, because, there's a good chance the things that I have a hard time with as a student may be his weak points as a teacher, so that may kind of be overplayed in what I think, where other students, may not see his weak points because they're not a weak point for them. So I'm going to give you the cons for me as a student. I get distracted very easily. I need a simple guide to understand what is being asked of me. There are a lot of times where I ask a question about the directions of a project, even though they were just given like 10 seconds ago. I can be annoying to some students with my multitude of questions. I don't like to do a lot of out-of-class work. I like to do as little of that as possible. And too much homework wears me down. Pros, I'm a very engaging student. I ask many questions that the majority of students are wondering but are not afraid to ask. I like to believe I make class enjoyable somewhat. I'm friendly and fun, and I think I do a good job of understanding when the teacher is confusing and asking the teacher to simplify that so other students can simplify it. GPA, I think I have like a 3.8. So without further ado, I will start my review on Professor Golden. So number 1, the relational factor. I gave Professor a 5 out of 5 of this, and I said, you're amazing at this. Right away, you can just tell you're a relational guy. I remember the first day you walked in the classroom, you're just like a lovable dude. And I just enjoy, I could tell right when you walked in, you're going to be understanding, you're going to be enjoyable. And that's true. You're a patient and kind man. One of the things I loved in terms of relational factor were the signing questions. Every day he would do a signing question for us. And I feel like you got to know students pretty well, and they were fun signing questions, like who's your favorite superhero? If you could have one superpower, what would it be? And just all a bunch of random questions to get to know people pretty well. And I really liked it. I think that was good. You also did a great job leading open discussions to build relationships. I think of the way you talked about the political talk was very good, and I love that. You let us be us, and I appreciated that. You didn't, I think some teachers who, if students don't act the way they don't want them to, they just kind of put them down and don't let them be them, and it hinders their learning, and you don't do that. You let us be us. I felt extremely comfortable around you in the classroom and just wasn't afraid to ask any questions, and I really appreciated that. And you did a good job encouraging me. I can remember one day you complimented me as a student, and that made me want to work harder, so I appreciated that. All right, number 2, the formative process. I gave a 3 out of 5 on the formative process. And here's why. I said the criteria was there, but I had a difficult time understanding what I had to do a lot of the time. And part of it was we had a lot of out-of-class work, and I'm not a fan of that, I guess. Or I guess I'd like to do as little out-of-class work as I can and still learn the material. So I just felt like, in terms of reviewing the class right now, I felt like there was a ton of out of class work. And just off the So I just think a suggested S-bar deadline would be good. And I'm not saying change your flexible deadline, because I really like how you're flexible, because I agree that like you said, more students stayed in the class. So I think that's a good thing. But I definitely think like a suggested S-bar deadline for everyone would be good. Yeah, and I think one of the hardest things for me is I like to be given a blueprint for how to do things and then go from there and be creative. And I felt like we were really given a blueprint for what we had to do. It kind of just seemed like we were thrown into the fire with a lot of things. And I'll give an example of, you had us make a game on Desmos, and you kind of just like go, which from a creative aspect, I liked it, but I didn't know anything what I had to do. I think it would have been nice to have you walk through one game for us and build a game for us, and then to go say, be creative from there. So I had to understand what I had to do. So that was, yeah, I would, in terms of like that, S-bars, everything, it would just be really nice to have kind of a blueprint. Because for me, I think I get things done, it just takes me way longer to get there if I don't have that blueprint. And I think the last thing in terms of S-bars, like that too, there was a lot of stuff I went to and I didn't like understand it anymore. Like I forgot how to do some of these things. So it would have been nice to have links to like, if you forgot how to do these, these standards, here's videos to relearn how to do them so you can apply them and do an S-bar problem well. Next thing we're gonna move on to is the environmental dynamic, 5 out of 5. I'm gonna put that up there so you can read it. Teacher creates an atmosphere that's learning. They find ways to keep students in the game. Yeah, you were 5 out of 5 in this. You did exactly this. And the best example I could give is the fact that there's no set due dates for assignments. And in terms of, you keep every student in the game, that's it. Because like you said, a lot more students stay in your class. Less students drop because of this. And then the last part, the teacher pursues the marginalized student. I feel like you did an awesome job making every student feel valued and appreciated, and like they could do it if they put the effort in. So I really appreciated that. I believe you gave us understanding not just for the subject, but for life. So, and the best example I can give again is that political discussion format we had. We talked about politics. And usually that gets heated, but how you did it with like the turn taking, I can't remember exactly how it was done, but like it was just so like people actually got to voice their opinions equally, and people didn't feel shut down by the person who talks more and all those types of things. So I really thought you did a great job in the environmental dynamic, 5 out of 5. The knowledge component, I'm going to give a 4.5 out of 5. Put it up there so you can read it quick and remember what the knowledge component criteria is. I don't think there was any question you were extremely knowledgeable on this subject. No doubt in my mind you knew exactly what you were talking about. The only reason I gave 0.5 off was because that last part is it knows how to communicate it to appropriate grade levels. Like I said, I thought it was good and I could figure out my way there, but I think it could have been simplified, and I think a blueprint could have been given to make it easier for us. I think, and I have another example similar to what I said earlier, talking about like we did stats on Monday, and I'm pretty sure we learned some of the standards in stats in class, but I'm not really sure which one. So it would have been nice to maybe have like learning goals about the standard before class, so we know like this is kind of what we're going to go over. So yes, constant improvement, 5 out of 5. You killed it. The teacher never stops learning and growing themselves. They find creative ways to upgrade their lesson plans and pedagogy. They are streamed out upon. You were great at this. You talked about how you change your class all the time, and I totally believe you. You had amazing learning activities. They were super fun. I loved them. Got me very engaged. and you changed class to make it better. So I have no doubt that you will take some of these things to heart, and you will understand that I thought you were amazing as a professor, but there were some things that I think could have been better, but I think like everyone's going to have that. So yeah. Student voice, last one, 5 out of 5. That's a really long one. If you want to read it all. Yeah, I just feel like you really take our voice to heart. I like we kind of said earlier, I feel like your class is a river. It's not a pond. It's constantly changing and flowing, and you really take our feedback to heart. You make us feel very encouraged, and you make me encouraged to give good feedback. I think a lot of teachers, may belittle you for having a voice that disagrees with theirs, but you don't. And I think teachers that do what I just said is a bad thing, because I think there's students who feel afraid to voice their opinion, and if they don't agree with the professor, it's wrong, and that professor never grows. But I really appreciate how you encourage us to give good feedback. Again, student voice, I talked about the political discussion table thing, where we went around 3 times. That was awesome. I loved it. That's the definition of giving a student voice, I think. And it's the best discussion method I've ever used. So I think this is a little long-winded. I will try to clean it up and shorten it up. I got a lot. So I really appreciated the class. I had a lot of fun. And thank you very much.